Welcome to this intensive explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are literally cracking open the IELTS examiner's rulebook. Look, if you're aiming to secure that dream university admission, understanding exactly how you're graded is just as crucial as your actual English skills. So we're opening up the scoring black box to give you a massive strategic advantage. Let's jump right in.
Now, you might be wondering about this massive paradox. Why in the world do genuinely fluent English speakers sometimes walk away with a mediocre Band 6, while those with seemingly just average English manage to hit that highly coveted Band 8? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The IELTS exam doesn't just test your English, it tests how well you navigate its highly structured scoring system. It's like a giant puzzle, and mastering that system is the absolute key to winning this battle. So here is your ultimate cheat sheet for dominating the exam. First, decoding IELTS band scores. Second, mastering the 4 sections. Third, Band 5 versus Band 8. Fourth, avoiding costly exam mistakes. And finally, target scores and study habits.
Okay, Section 1, Decoding IELTS band scores. Let's pull back the curtain on how those final numbers actually come together.
Your final overall score is really just the average of your 4 individual sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And what this means for you is that every single section drastically impacts your final result. You absolutely cannot afford to just completely bomb one section and hope the others will mathematically save you, They all carry equal weight in that final average.
And here's where it gets wild. There's a highly surprising, incredibly strict rounding rule. Let's say your 4 sections average out to a 6.625. You'd probably think, hey, that rounds up, right? Actually, no way. The strict rule dictates that 6.625 rounds down to a 6.5. But if you manage to push that average just a tiny bit higher to a 6.75, boom, it rounds up to a solid 7. Literally every fraction of a point matters here.
Moving right along to Section 2, mastering the 4 sections. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty scoring mechanics.
So, in both the listening and reading sections, you're facing exactly 40 questions. Getting 30 correct nets you a Band 7, if it's great. But if you drop just 4 points and get 26 correct, that drastically pulls you all the way down to a Band 6. To put that into perspective, the margin for error is razor thin, which is exactly why practicing your accuracy is so absolutely vital.
Oh, and a super crucial distinction to keep in mind. Academic reading is significantly tougher compared to general training. Since most of us here are aiming for university admissions, you need to prepare for this specific academic level of difficulty. The texts are going to be denser, a lot more complex, and they demand a much higher level of analytical reading.
Now let's talk about writing. It isn't just about showing off good English. You have to play by their specific rules. Examiners grade you strictly across 4 criteria. First, task response. Did you actually answer the prompt properly? Second, coherence and cohesion. Does your argument have a logical flow? Third is lexical resource. And fourth is grammar range and accuracy, which means writing error-free, varied sentences.
Let's zoom in on that third one, lexical resource, because it's a real game changer. This evaluates the quality of your vocabulary and your ability to paraphrase effectively. For instance, instead of using a basic, everyday word like bad, an advanced test taker will drop in terms like detrimental or adverse. Upgrading a basic phrase like a lot of to a multitude of is exactly what satisfies this specific grading criterion. If you just copy and repeat the prompt's exact words, you're going to lose points here for sure.
All right, Section 3, Band 5 versus Band 8. Let's look at the actual difference between a low score and a top-tier one. There is a massive, night and day gap in expectations here. A Band 5 is generally characterized by frequent grammar mistakes and weak repetitive vocabulary. On the flip side, an 8 requires advanced vocabulary and near-natural fluency. You literally upgrade yourself from a 5 to an 8 by relentlessly eliminating those frequent errors and consciously upgrading your word choices. And let's just completely dispel a major myth for the speaking section right now. Having a British accent is absolutely not required. Seriously, you don't need to sound like James Bond or the Queen of England. What examiners strictly evaluate is your natural fluency, along with your vocabulary, grammar, and clear pronunciation. So just speak clearly and naturally in your own authentic voice.
Which brings us to Section 4, avoiding costly exam mistakes. Let's highlight the biggest score reducers.
Please pay close attention to these massive score reducers.
Relying on memorized essays is a fatal flaw. I mean, examiners spot them instantly. It's like listening to a robot read a script, and they will penalize you heavily based on their rubric. Likewise, letting panic completely take over during the speaking section will just destroy your fluency score. And ignoring word limits in writing, that directly tanks your task response score. Guys, these are totally avoidable errors. Finally, Section 5, Target Scores and Study Habits. Let's talk about smart strategies moving forward.
First off, you need to know your specific target. If you're applying for a diploma program, you're generally looking at a 5.5 to 6. Bachelor's programs usually require a 6 to 6.5. Now, stepping up to a master's program requires a 6.5 to 7. And if your sights are set on top-tier global universities, you need to be aiming for a 7 or higher. Knowing your exact target dictates the intensity of your entire preparation.
To hit those targets, you've got to implement a smart weekly study plan built on highly practical daily habits. For example, dedicate your Mondays and Wednesdays to reading English newspapers to build up that lexical resource. Use Tuesdays for writing essays so you can really nail down your coherence and cohesion. On Thursdays, maybe watch some English interviews to absorb that natural conversational flow. And then on Fridays, record your own speaking practice. That way, you can actually hear your own mistakes and rapidly improve your natural fluency.
So here is your essential homework moving forward. Step 1, go check your dream university's exact score requirements. Step 2, take a full mock test. This is absolutely vital because it directly identifies your weak spots, which brings us to Step 3, identifying that weakest section. And Step 4, create a dedicated vocabulary notebook. This is going to be your primary strategy for achieving those higher lexical resource scores we talked about earlier.
I really want to leave you with this emphatic reminder. IELTS scoring is not luck. Not at all. It is a highly structured, predictable system. Once you truly understand the examiner's methods, those tricky rounding rules, and the exact grading criteria, your preparation becomes significantly easier, a whole lot smarter, and infinitely more effective.
So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Now that you know the examiner's secrets and exactly how this black box works, what is the very first daily habit you are going to change today to claim your dream university spot? The roadmap is right in front of you. Go get that score. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy studying.